Hello and welcome to another episode of the AutoGuide podcast. This week we talk about Ford and whether or not it really enjoys making electric cars. We talk about the potential for a hotter Golf, cars that aren't going to make it past the end of 2025, and we finish with more Ford stuff. But first, a word from our sponsor.
eBay has reinvented car buying. From click to curb, everything is covered. With their new secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery, it's all built in. And eligible vehicle purchases are backed by up to $100,000 in protection. This is what modern car buying looks like. Get your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Carmel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary.
All right, everyone, we have a fun show this week. I have Greg with us, our editorial director. Mike is taking some well-deserved time off. And so, Greg, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a great day to podcast. It's like we were talking about, a little chilly, but hey, it's a great day to talk cars. We're getting into the fall driving season.
It's true, right? We've had a bit of a quiet, well, not really that quiet, but quietish August, and now it's just going to all ramp up. So since Car Week wrapped up in Monterey recently, a lot of people got to talk with Jim Farley on the lawn out there, and this was an interesting little tidbit of news to kick off the week. The Ford CEO flat out refused to turn Lincoln all electric, and we've seen other premium brands make big grand gestures towards being electric and then quietly pull that back.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because their arch rival Cadillac made a big deal about how they were going to go all electric, and I believe they've kind of pulled back on that to a certain extent. Mercedes, some of the other premium luxury brands were all about electrics for a pretty long time, and now they are sort of pivoting or retrenching or adding some nuance to that strategy with hybridization and even keeping some internal combustion engines in there. In Lincoln's case, they usually have a small enough lineup that I think being all electric would be prohibitive for them. As good as electric technology could be, for a brand like Lincoln, I think, you want to be able to meet your customers where they are. And I think that's what Jim Farley was trying to say. He's really started using Pebble Beach as almost like his, I don't know, like State of the Union for Ford Motor Company. It seems like he really likes going out there with the race cars and the vintage race cars. So, yeah, he had a lot to say on the lawn there at Pebble Beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that you brought up Cadillac because that was something that I mentioned in this story too about Cadillac does have a lot of EVs and it seems like it's doing fairly well for them. But yeah, I think they have a different target audience, right? And they have a broader lineup. They still have cars, although I guess they technically have an EV car, right? If you count the Celestiq. But it seems like the SUVs are doing well for them. And the nice thing in this interview is that he does expand that they're not against electrification, even though it's not in a whole lot of models right now. And that was my main criticism with the Navigator, actually, when I drove the new one earlier this year, is I wish there was some level of hybridization. And Jim talks about that and talks about a future where he sees hybrids and extended range hybrids being a thing for Lincoln. And I think that does make a lot of sense, right? Like people who are getting big gas guzzling SUVs wouldn't say no to the option to power them in short little bursts in the city on electric power, I imagine.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, especially for Lincoln, a brand that I think is somewhat, still trying to reestablish its identity and reach some new customers. I think having some hybrid, like augmenting the rest of their lineup would be really helpful, especially from a performance and efficiency standpoint. I think when I think of Lincolns, you almost you do think of the motor is a little bit of a selling point. So this is going way back to like the 50s and 60s. Like, hey, the Lincoln has a V8, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the hybrid as a performance element could help. I think they have to have an electric at some point in that lineup to be competitive, because even though some of the other brands we mentioned have retrenched a little bit, they all still have some very good electrics that I've driven, you've driven, and we like a lot. So I think Lincoln does have to go down that road, but with such a small lineup, probably being only electric would be quite limiting for them, especially when you consider sort of like the age and demographic of many Lincoln customers, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting, and then we'll flip over to the other side of FOMOCO and talk about how Ford is not building an all-electric Mustang.
yeah, I can't say I'm shocked here, but it's a little confusing here because wouldn't you already say they have an all electric Mustang? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've driven one, haven't you?
We'll
They're kind
talk
of
about that
talking.
in just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think what they're, semantics aside, as we said, I think what they're trying to say is like, hey, they are going to keep like a traditional coupe and convertible with, a gasoline fed engine that is playing right to the base, the pony car base. I think it was kind of controversial to use Mustang on the Mach-E in the first place. When I saw it, I kind of thought, it's a gamble. It's a risky play. It seemed almost unnecessary because I mean, I get that the notion of a Mustang has been a lot of things for the last 60 years. So if you want to do this, sure, you're Ford, you're well within your rights to do that. But it did seem like they were stretching it a little bit. I would almost argue Chevy with the Blazer, they could have called that a Camaro as much as Ford called, the Mach-E a Mustang, just because, I mean, think about it, right?
Mhm.
Look at the design, and I think it's not that far off. So, I mean, I think Ford's just trying to uh, establish and remind people that their signature pony car is going to live on with somewhat of a traditional engine for at least another decade.
Yeah, and I feel like, look, we don't have to pull up sales figures to remind ourselves that the Mustang is a tiny drop in the yearly sales. So if it's going to continue with a V8, that doesn't dramatically change the makeup of the whole lineup. And so if the brand is working towards ever tightening fuel emissions regulations, this isn't a major issue. I personally wouldn't be opposed to seeing alongside the V8 an electric Mustang, but I guess it hasn't really worked too well for Dodge. So maybe just let that sit.
It's funny, and we could do a whole podcast on the Charger electric because I actually think that is a car that is ahead of its time. I think a
Mhm.
performance coupe or four-door muscle car, pony car, whatever you want to call it, I actually think is a great solution for a lot of enthusiasts. I think just they launched it right in the midst of changing political, economic, and all sorts of other, global conditions that made it so it wasn't going to necessarily probably resonate, especially with the Dodge buyers. I still think it's a great car and could even be something between mainstream and niche. So like somewhere in that maybe like middle ground in there.
Mhm.
And I think the Mustang, an electric Mustang coupe convertible could definitely get into that space. I think a lot of people would be super excited to get something that looks like the new Mustang, like a dark horse with an electric motor. Would it be the majority of their sales? Of course not. I think they've been very liberal by growing the brand of Mustang with a crossover and this $300,000 race car and stuff. So, I mean, I think you got room for an electric motor in there. They just, frankly, I think they should do it.
So we're on the same page there.
We just disagree with Jim Farley, and he
Yeah,
may have a little more clout than we do as far as calling the shots here.
maybe. Well, we'll have to talk to him.
Get right
so
on that.
So, moving on, actually staying on the subject of EVs, this was an interesting little nugget. So, Porsche is getting ready to launch the Cayenne EV, and there were some first drives going around in Europe recently. Well, not even first drives; they're still in prototypes. But the interesting thing about this is that Porsche has at least one development model that's floating around that has artificial shifts and artificial engine noise, which is something that we've seen in other brands, most notably Hyundai with the Ioniq 5N, but we've also seen it in Lexus. And so it seems like Porsche's backing down from a previous decision to not use those features in a way to just provide a little more engagement for EV drivers.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about these. Part of me thinks it's kind of like a Coke Zero kind of thing where like why do you just maybe don't go down that road? And I actually like Coke Zero, so that's maybe a separate discussion.
Same.
But I'm not sure this is a move Porsche needs to do. I can see why Hyundai did it. And I feel like it's well intentioned, but I don't know. I'm not sure Porsche should go down this road.
Yeah. I after after experiencing it, the interesting thing is not all implementations are the same, right? The Lexus RZ with its fake shifts isn't as satisfying as I found with the Hyundai, but on the flip side, I was very fortunate and got to drive the Hyundai on a track. And that's where these sorts of things make a lot of sense because it really plays with your mind and your sense of speed when you can downshift uh, and head into a corner, right? We have instructors doing lead follow telling you it's a third gear corner and you know to do that. But for day-to-day driving, yeah, this doesn't really serve a purpose and feels kind of antithetical to the point of an EV, which is smooth, quiet progress.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about the authenticity too with Porsche because you can't really fake the engagement here. And I mean it is like sort of faking the engagement. So it's a little bit of a concern that Porsche of all brands would go there. But I guess we'll see.
We will, yeah. So, a sibling brand, the other bit of the news from the entire VW group this week. It sounds like there are serious rumors that the Volkswagen Golf R is going to get an additional cylinder and a whole lot more power.
I think that would be a great move. I'm fully in support of that. There's no argument there. I think it makes a ton of sense, frankly, to given just how sort of small a segment like the golf lineup is at this point. Why not add that degree of performance? Really play to the enthusiast base and have some fun with it. I mean, by my estimation, this would be like sort of like the corporate 5-cylinder, which is an outstanding engine. At least that would be one way to do it. I don't know if they go all the way with what they did with like the TTRS back in the day, but I mean that gets you another cylinder, and that was a great power plant. So I think this makes a good deal of sense, and I think also given the fact that the climate for efficiency regulation, especially in the United States, has changed a little bit. Some of these automakers are, I think, kind of using that as an opportunity to experiment with different things in their lineup that maybe they would have been done with, Dodge and the Hemi. And now they're like, hey, let's bring it back and see what happens. So even if it's only for, could be 4 years, I don't know, thinking of how things change here in the States, but it's a play.
Yeah, I think despite how different the lineup is now for VW, especially in Europe, the Golf and the GTI and by extension the Golf R, that's the basis of hot hatchdom, right? Is that
Yeah.
that's where it all started. And so if the gas powered one, purely gas powered, is going to be living on borrowed time, why not go out with a bang? Put the 5-cylinder in, have a super Golf, target everything. I think that's a really appropriate way for this model to bow out. 400 horsepower, and it sounds like nothing else. What a win!
Yeah, I mean, I drove that motor on a track in, I believe it was Spain or Portugal at the TTRS launch. This is probably 2016, so I'm dating myself. But it was a brilliant engine, and it was something that I think in some ways, like the Volkswagen conglomerate, sort of underused. I thought they were a little too cautious with it. So, an updated version of that in the Golf R, I think would be a really good move for enthusiasts. I think you and I would have a lot of fun with that car. I mean,
very much. Even the Golf R, the regular one, is already hilarious. So yeah, here's hoping. So while we're talking about future cars, now we get to talk about one of the fun parts of the job that happens right around this time every year, where we collect all of the models that are going to die. 2025 is no different. There are quite a lot of vehicles that aren't going to live to 2026. And there are some surprises on this list. And also, I should point out, we still have 4 months of the year left. So, Greg, I'm going to run through them real quickly, and you can pop in with an opinion on them. Acura TLX.
right.
We've already talked about this, I think, on the podcast. It's one of Mike's favorite midsize sedans, but yeah, it's disappearing.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was a nice throwback to what Acura could have been and used to be at times. So I'm sad to see it go, but we'll probably get to this throughout this list here. It's a sedan. There's not a huge market for things like this. Nice try, Acura. I like this car, but probably not enough other people did.
Yeah, yeah. Next on the still in the premium segment, which gets a lot of this portion of the list, but the BMW 8 Series also bowing out.
This is one that I think struggled to find a market as far as that really high-end sort of performance but luxury segment. I don't think it really hit like it did with some of its competitors. I think it didn't have that emotional feel. You do get a special edition, and that'll be it for it. So
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go.
It was a tough one. I drove the M8 last year and was really impressed at how good it was when I wanted to push it. But to your point, it's like if I'm spending that money, I could look at a 911.
Yeah.
And then the Alpina B8, fantastic. The
Yeah.
four-door, so great. But also, it's such a niche item.
I think in some ways, Mercedes and BMW have grown their lineups with cars and crossovers to places they don't necessarily need to go in an effort to grab new customers and sell more cars. But that's probably also a separate podcast. And this to me is sort of evidence of it. They're overstretching here because I would take a 911 and a few other things all day.
Yeah. So moving on, the Cadillac XT6. I
forgot they sold this, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like Cadillac might have too. So look, we're not going to miss it. The Lyriq and the Vistic are the EV alternatives that sort of cover both ends of this. And yeah, the XT6 never made a dent. So, oh well. The Ford Escape, that's a big one. That's a big loss.
What's interesting to me is that they launched the Escape and it was pretty well received. This was, I want to say, 5 years ago at this point, give or take, for when this generation launched. At another website I worked for, people were so excited about this that we delayed a compact comparison test, compact crossover test, because we were like, hey, we got to get the Escape in there. So we pushed it back a few months. So I think it was pretty well received. I think it did a lot of things well. The hybrid was very good. I don't know if this is necessarily a move they should be making because I think it's a solid performer that sells well. And I'm not sure this is the right road for them to go down. Now, Ford would tell you they already have the Bronco Sport. They have the Maverick. They're pretty well covered in this segment, even without the Escape. But I don't know. This to me feels like a little bit of you're going to have a really home run product replace it to make up for the fact that you took a pretty good product out of the lineup.
Yeah, that's the serious concern, right? And I mean, Ford has this grand plan with the new affordable EV platform, but we'll see if it replaces this. Never mind. I mean, the Bronco Sport's not going to make up the difference either. I also want to point out that the related Lincoln Corsair is also Dunzo, which actually makes more sense. It doesn't really feel like it needed to exist. So, 50% ain't bad for Ford.
Compact Lincolns they never seem to stick around.
No. So we're going to fly through the rest of the list here. The Genesis Electrified G80. Fantastic vehicle. It was sold in a handful of states. They sold dozens of them. It sucks, but
it was a great car.
Yeah.
I was even willing to give it some votes for Car of the Year a couple years ago for NACTOY, but it just, when you find out just where it's sold, like, sorry, good luck with that.
Yeah. So that one's unfortunate. Infiniti is killing off the QX50 and 55, which means that for a brief little window of time next year, Infiniti will be a 2-vehicle, only 3-row SUV brand. So they're really focused in on one segment and just that. Infinity's been struggling for a long time, right? So the QX65, maybe that'll change things
Yeah.
for them.
I mean, whenever I get in their products, especially on the front end of their often very long product cycles, they're very good vehicles.
Mhm.
But in this case, these were not, I think, super competitive. They were always like right in the middle of most of the like rankings of things of vehicles of this type in their segment. So, I mean, I think this is probably actually a good chance for Infinity to kind of hit reset and try to do something maybe a little more unique.
Here's hoping. Uh, the Mercedes-Benz EQB is disappearing. Eh. The GLB was a very funky, small SUV that I really enjoyed, but the EQB just felt like an afterthought. It had slow charging, not enough power, not enough range, and it was expensive because it's a Mercedes. So
I like this vehicle actually. Everything you said is true, but I liked it. I thought it was kind of a fun, small electric vehicle that actually did serve a market. Like I think some people, like you want a vehicle that has the 3-point star on it. It's attainable, but yeah, to your point, some of the like the basic genetics didn't do what they should.
yeah, and on that note, the penultimate one on this list is the Lexus RC, a Frankenstein of a vehicle. That platform is something like 3 different cars underneath
Yeah,
in a trench coat, and so it's ancient. It's understandable that it leaves. The RCF was fun but flawed.
yeah.
The V8 dominated that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is another one of those cars that I kind of thought disappeared maybe a year or two ago. I'm a little surprised to see it's on this list.
Yeah,
So it was fun to drive though, but it wasn't what some of the other ones you mentioned could
no.
be. So
And to wrap it up, talking about fun to drive, the Porsche 718 twins, the Cayman and Boxster are disappearing for good this year, and that one hurts.
my absolute favorites. I literally in every summer, usually you get like 1 or 2 Porsches through the fleet. These things are perfect. I think this is a tragedy. I think this is one where I don't know if like sure do an electric version that could be great. Put the batteries in a certain spot, keep the design, but this is where I think having like a internal combustion engine with the sound, the manual transmission, these were amazing cars.
Yep, yep, and they're a better driver's car than the 911. I'm saying it.
It is there.
So uh, that's it for the news. Greg and I are going to take a quick little breather, and then we're going to talk about the reviews. And yeah, we'll be right back. Okay, we just needed a quick breather there because there is a lot to cover today. So, Greg, up first for reviews, it's you in something a little boxy and plug-inable. Plug-inable?
20 that's a great way to describe it. 2025 Range Rover Sport Dynamic SE. This is the PHEV. Stickers for just a shade over 100, we'll call it $107,000. So you're paying a lot of money for a lot of car. I curious how many Range Rover buyers will opt for this specific model
Mhm.
because plug-in hybrids, I personally enjoy them and find them interesting, but they're kind of a niche use case. People I don't think fully know how to use them to get the most efficiency and electric range out of them. But I mean, frankly, I would probably do that for this and many other models. I think for most people, I'd recommend just maybe get one of the many other Range Rover Sport models you could get. But I had a good weekend in this thing. It's
Uh-oh.
to explain it, it's very sporty, but also very like a functional SUV with all of that kind of Range Rover DNA coming through it. So yeah, I really liked my weekend in it. I really did.
Okay. Sorry, I think there was a little glitch on my end there, where I froze or you froze for a little bit. Seems like it was fine. So, I just want to quickly point out this is something that's always kind of got to me because you mentioned like people don't maybe understand how plugins work or how to get the most out of them, and I agree. I feel like that is something that is just kind of a knowledge black hole currently with a lot of car buyers, and then I always wonder, is that our fault? Are we the baddies? Because I've had people ask me this year oh, well, a regular hybrid, aren't you supposed to plug that in? Like, people still think that regular
Right.
hybrids need to be plugged in, and I'm just like, no, no, no. But this could be very beneficial for you if you use it properly. So I always wonder how to like better give that information away in a way that makes sense, right? Because when I have a plug-in, if I'm going to be driving on the highway, I always try and force the gas engine. Like, please don't go into electric. I want to save that. I want to save it for the city.
It's interesting though. I mean, like in the case of this one specifically, you do get a lot of benefits. It's 53 miles of electric range,
Huge.
but it also gives you 0 to 60 in like about 5 seconds. So it's like the best of all worlds. This one was super powerful. It had the 3-liter inline six. It's the Ingenium, 454 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque, which believe me, this thing could get up and go. So, I mean, if you're looking for a plug-in hybrid, this is a richly appointed sporty one from a brand you might not expect to be dabbling in this area. I will say this. I drove a Defender earlier this year, and when I look at the Land Rover, such as it is, lineup, because they've really changed some of their branding,
Mhm.
I think I would lightly go with the Defender, sort of at like, because I think you could get more Defender cheaper than you can Range Rover Sport,
Mhm.
because $106,000, this is like Escalade territory. It's not quite as big, even though it is a very like large, relatively speaking, vehicle. I will say this though, like from a style and just, aspirational standpoint, Range Rover Sports give you that just that image, that
Mhm.
aura all day long that other things don't, that you don't get from the Germans, you don't get from the American brands. And that's where a thing like this is something special. Mine was like kind of like really dark gray. It had a really sleek interior. So I mean, from that perspective, this is almost like your, I don't know, pitcher for the Tigers or Blue Jays or somebody who's pretty well off and wants a nice car that looks different in, the players lot or the country club or whatnot. So that's where I think Range Rover really does have a strong hand to play. And, I don't know, lots of things about this were really, really enjoyable. So yeah, I had a good week with it. Took it golfing, took my son around in it. The family really enjoyed it. I didn't put the dog in it though, because that would have probably, messed up the very handsome interior. But, good looking vehicle, lots of fun, sporty and,
Very good
you
looking.
know, luxurious, all the things
Mhm.
you want at this price point.
Yeah, and it's relatively subtle, right? At
Yeah.
least how yours is spec'd. Which feels like a good segue to talk about the complete opposite, which is the Mustang Mach-E rally. So I had this a while back, and actually, so Mike drove it even before I did, and he did a video which you can definitely watch on the AutoGuide YouTube channel. I took it somewhere different. I took it camping. Uh, I was invited by a fellow auto journalist to head out for a weekend and camp out in the wilderness, and they told me to bring something rugged. And in my mind, this qualified. It's the most rugged Mach-E, so it made sense. Um, as it turns out, when you're rock crawling,
Mhm.
maybe not the best choice. It did what it needed to, but it did require some very careful maneuvering and avoiding, hitting the floor, because that's where all the important bits are in a Mach-E rally. But I really enjoyed this vehicle. I didn't think I would, but I think it shows the elasticity of this platform, which Ford is criminally underusing by only having it as a Mach-E. This platform is used nowhere else. Uh, it's basically a Mustang Mach-E GT with the performance upgrade, but then an inch suspension lift, some underbody protection, all-terrain tires, a new drive mode, some tweaks to the suspension, and some really ridiculous over-the-top graphics and rally style wheels, and a huge Focus RS rear wing, or at least it looks like it's just punked off the Focus. It's so much fun to drive. Uh, on dirt roads, this thing is hilarious, and it feels, I don't know, 1,200 pounds lighter than it actually is. It feels agile and fun and predictable in a way that I don't think many people realize EVs can do. EVs always feel very efficient and very straightforward at what they do, but not a lot of variance and room for play. And this was that. It was a lot of fun. It was very comfortable taking the highway, the country roads up. I slept in it. It's probably a little short. Someone any taller than 6 feet would not have a good time sleeping in the back, but I had a all right time. I just had a nice, comfy sleeping bag, and I was good. It's a lot of fun, and it's weirdly almost a good deal in terms of what you get. There's not a lot of 480 horsepower, 700 pound-feet vehicles that you can buy for this price.
I'm kind of jealous. I've driven a few different Mach-E's, but not the rally. I saw this at I think it was actually the Detroit Auto Show a few years ago, and it's been on my list to try to get from Ford. I think I still want to get one in here. The rock crawling thing, I got to give you credit for. That's a gutsy play. I've taken the Mach-E off road a few times. I've taken it through the snow, and this is where having like a off road ish Mustang crossover thing could be a lot of fun. It really is. I think it's a brilliant chassis. It handles very well, but yeah, man, rock crawling, that's not something I necessarily think I'd ever associate with anything with a horse on the grill or wherever the horse is on the Mach-E.
Yeah. So for the nervous Ford PR person who's listening to this, I mean very light rock crawling. But yeah, it was surprising. It was good, and to your point, this chassis is great. Even the regular Mach-E's are really fun handlers, and I think there are some people still we talked about just earlier. There are some people who might not enjoy that the Mustang name is on EV crossover, but if you look past it, it's a really good vehicle still after 5 years of being on the market. So yeah. I thought this was great, but I would just like to say if you are considering a Mach-E rally, please get it in ridiculous grabber yellow. I've seen one in my neighborhood, and it's the gray, and they've got gray wheels. They don't have the white ones, and I don't understand what the point is.
You know, it's funny you say that because I immediately started calling up Mach-E rally colors because there's some different options here. I kind of like the blue metallic, and then there's it's called eruption green metallic.
Oh,
that
yeah.
I think kind of work a little bit for this. And you could also customize the roof. So yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. Like if you're going to do this, why not do it all the way? But there's some pretty attractive other options here too. So
That's true.
Maybe
Yeah.
if you have to live with it, you don't want the bright neon yellow every day for the next 5 to 10 years or forever, however long you have this car.
That's a good point. And eruption green is fantastic. So
I love the wheels on this thing too. Side note, it's totally superficial, but I just love the big kind of white. They remind me a little bit of that FX Mustang, the Fox body throwback they did. Different purpose, but sort of same design. So it's a good look.
Yeah, it was good. So that's it for our news and reviews section of this episode. This is the Auto Guide Show brought to you by eBay Motors, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we will be back with a special guest. After that, Greg and Colum will talk F1, and then I'll rejoin to wrap things up.
eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. It's all thanks to their new secure purchase. Ever try to buy a car and end up in a parking lot with a stranger on some blind trust? Or spend half the day at a dealership talking to pushy salespeople and signing paperwork? Or maybe worst of all, wait hours at the DMV just to transfer the title? That era is over. For years, eBay has been the go-to for gearheads, collectors, and DIYers. Because whatever you're into, from classics to SUVs and trucks to imports, eBay's got it. And now with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your next ride, it's where you can buy it start to finish. Sellers and titles are verified, paperwork is handled by experts, and payments are traceable and digital, so you know exactly who you're dealing with and exactly what you're getting. Plus, you can finance, insure, and register your vehicle all in one place. No more hours at the dealership. No more trips to the DMV. Get your vehicle, plates, and paperwork shipped to your door ready to drive. And it's all part of one seamless process designed to feel as easy as buying anything else online. And eligible vehicles purchased on eBay are backed by up to $100,000 in purchase protection. Thinking about selling a ride? Secure Purchase makes that simple too, because you know your buyer and their funds are verified. If you still owe on your car, the financing payoff is fully integrated, so you're not chasing paperwork or waiting on checks to clear. And with Secure Purchase, you get paid fast, and you're not going to be stuck chasing no-shows or answering the fifth, still available messages. This is what modern car buying looks like. Skip the DMV, skip the sketchy meetups. Buy it on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Carmel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary.
All right, and welcome back to the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. This week we have a special guest that both Greg and I are pretty familiar with. So can you just introduce yourself for our listeners?
My name is James Riswick. My job is car, like many of us. I am the former senior editor for reviews and all of the West Coast of Autoblog. I was an automotive editor at Edmunds for a decade, and now I'm a freelance writer and videoist for various publications, including, on occasion, AutoGuide.
And Edmunds. That's where people can find a lot of your stuff here, there.
Yes.
everywhere.
I write primarily for Capital One Auto Navigator and JD Power, like full reviews, and then I do like myriad content types for Edmunds. The most visible of which is my cargo tests, which migrated from Autoblog to Edmunds. So that's where I put all of the luggage from my garage into the back of vehicles.
People like those. The luggage tests really had quite a following, along with your duties manning the West Coast from Baja, California, all the way up to
Sitka, Alaska. Sitka, Alaska.
All right, you really got up there.
I refuse to do the Aleutians. Okay. No.
The Autoblog Navy would have had to patrol that. So
yes, that's correct.
There we go.
Yeah. So for listeners who aren't aware, I guess we should point out that Greg and James work together at Autoblog. So I guess that actually should lead us into the typical first question. James, how did you get started in this field?
I wanted to be. So I was in high school and I was like, what am I good at? I'm somehow good at writing. And then what do I like? I like cars, and I have this closet filled with car magazines, and clearly there's people who do that. So why don't I make my goal to do that? And so I went to college at Pepperdine University to be a journalist major, and I worked at the school newspaper as much as humanly possible. I was the editor-in-chief and did all that. And I interned at a Canadian car magazine called Car Guide, which is now no longer exists. That was my kind of first foray into the car sector. And after college, I briefly sold cars for 3 months. That was enough of that, but it gave me some valuable dealer knowledge. I was born in Canada. I'm from Toronto, or outside of Toronto, and I lived there until I was 12. So I have Canadian citizenship. I have American citizenship. And in my brain, at the age of 20, I thought, well, in no way would I ever be able to go intern at a Motor Trend or a Car and Driver, even though I'm sure I could have. But I was like, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go try Car Guide. And that's why I spent the summer there.
What's in your personal fleet these days? Last I checked, you had a Mercedes wagon, which is kind of cool. Is that still there?
Oh, yes. I have. Once I left, or Autoblog left me, I wasn't guaranteed to have like a large functional family vehicle whenever I wanted. So I was like, I'm gonna need a backup car here for like family vacations and just if I don't have a car at a time. Because my other car is a 98 Z3. That is not a functional family vehicle. And I'm not going to get rid of it. So I wanted big family vehicle, something that doesn't suck, something like a car that I used to really like, and for those times when I have one child. For those times when we need to go out to dinner with my parents, a third row would be nice. So I got a 3-row family vehicle, which is an E-Class wagon from 2013.
With the rear-facing bench.
seat.
Yes.
Yes. My wife is 5 feet tall, so she is the demographic for which that is useful.
There you go.
So she uses it. She's always it's always very weird. People like laugh because they're not expecting to see someone facing them from behind. Perhaps I should get maybe I should get the windows tinted. But it is a very nice car. Like I remember when that generation came out, the 212. And that was a clear step up from its predecessor in terms of overall quality. And it sure seemed like it at the time. And it's true because my car feels like old school, like bulletproof Mercedes. The interior is beautiful. It is just so nice to drive. It is really gratifying, like all these years later, to get into a car that you really liked and kind of stuck with you. And then as it turns out, oh no, it actually was really good. And impressively, it's still good after all these years. And the other thing is that, it's funny. I have now, between my wife and I, we have now owned 3 cars from 2013. Part of it is a coincidence because, it could have been a 2012 or, but really it is that like that era of luxury cars. It's when everything you want is in it. So it still has Bluetooth audio. It has a USB port. You can charge something in it. So like you can connect to stuff. It's functional for today. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay, for example, but whatever. I mount my phone and it's Bluetooth. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's before they started slathering on stuff that in its earliest days didn't work very well. So like no drive modes. My X5 did not have drive modes. Right thereafter, BMW started putting sport and normal, and they were bad. And you don't have like I have lane keep assist in the Mercedes. It's one of the best lane keep assists I've experienced, oddly. Yet like a lot of that stuff were not very good. The tech interfaces thereafter were not as good. My mother has a 15 or 6, whenever the first year of the GLC. That tech interface, not good. She still has no idea how that thing works. I barely know how it works. But mine is simpler and it's easier. So it's just like that golden era of like luxury cars that oddly is just kind of a sweet spot. So
it's interesting. Yeah. This was a vehicle I sort of considered as well. They're pretty hard to come by when a number of us sort of Autoblog alumni were looking for reserve cars, that you didn't want to drop a fortune on, but we're also like car people. So you're not just going to go buy a Civic, it's like you got to go buy an E-Class wagon or something, right? And there's some good ones out here on Edmunds. If you actually look around, there's even a few in the Auto Guide listings, but here's a good one for $16,000. It looks like 93,000 miles. So they're attainable, and hey, you're still driving a Mercedes, and maybe your wife is the demographic, for that third row. And I mean, you as an automotive journalist, I think are the demographic for an E-Class wagon. It's like right up there with a 3 Series wagon, preferably brown with a manual transmission. But
so that's what I was going to ask is James, what do you think makes wagons in particular such a auto journalist catnip?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I think because we generally don't like SUVs for on-road driving. because they don't handle as well, and it's just a general inefficiency of just packaging. So I think there's that functional element, and my car is more maneuverable, it is more efficient. It still has a gigantic cargo area. If anything doesn't fit in the back, the roof's lower, so I can mount stuff on the roof more easily than if I could on a GLE, for example. So there's a functional element, and then the other element is the ridiculous element, which is vehicles that you use in a way that is a bit silly. So you like an RS6 Avant is a wagon, yet it also has like sports car performance. So it is these two things should not go together, and yet they do. It's like if you got like 911 Dakar would be another example of something that like, well, this seems silly, but it's silly in a good way. Like combining two things that really shouldn't be into one. It's like good spork, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a balancing act though, right? Because for every RS6, then there's a high performance SUV, and we're just like,
No, it's not the same. No, because that's trying to. Yeah, that's just trying to overcome physics. At least with a high performance wagon, it's not this tall thing that weighs more because it's a tall thing, and working again, it has inherent limitations. No, I think, but like you could also have an SUV theoretically that's really powerful, but isn't trying to go around the Nürburgring, right? I think you could have that, like a G-Wagon with a lot of power, cool. But if it like that's why like the AMG had improved the handling from what, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, great! It's a more agile tank.
You took it from here to here. Congratulations.
Yeah. So going back to your fleet, so you have the Z3.
Yes.
The E-Wagon.
Yes.
And then you have something a little bit newer.
Yes. So my wife just got a Cadillac Optic. She had a Kia Niro EV, which she loved. I loved it. It was a great little car. But a number of things doomed it. First, EV tax credits are going away in the United States. So if we were going to re-up and get something, we needed to do it sooner than later. The other thing is we bought the Niro in December of 22. We were lucky to get it for MSRP. And at the time, like leasing was nonsense. Like lease rates, we could have leased it for like $880 a month, like a Niro EV. Today you can lease one for like $150, right? It was just like insane. So like we're paying more than we needed to really for this car. And so it just kind of made sense to sell it and take the equity we had at it, put it in the bank, and then lease. We could now lease an electric car, and there was more selection available. Also in December 22, like you couldn't get a Mustang Mach-E without paying like way more for it. Like your choices were slim. Now there's so many more choices. The Optic is beautiful. And the interesting thing is I mentioned my wife's 5 feet tall. She sat in that thing and she didn't look like old lady, like driving like really up close, like in a car that normally in a car she looks like this car was not meant for her to drive. She does in the Optic. It's really weird. A strange thing she had never even noticed before was that the base of a seat hits her calf when she sits in it. It's almost the opposite of like me like needing the thigh extension, right? It's the opposite. And her legs don't touch that Optic. It's and then she got into the Niro, which she thought she was, and she did. She had never noticed this before. So she sat on a thing, was more comfortable than she ever has been before. And so like that played a big role. We got the kind of icy blue exterior with the navy blue interior.
Very good.
Oh, it's really nice. It's very, very nice, and all the toys in it. Good news, she doesn't use Apple CarPlay. So she does not care that car. She's a perfect demographic for GM electric cars that don't have Apple CarPlay. Couldn't care less. So it's kind of too big for her. She comments it feels gigantic. She's had a Mini, Mazda 3, like the first Mazda 3. Her Audi Allroad felt big at the time, and then her Nero. So. But it's a lovely car, and so that's our little main family vehicle. Yeah,
I'm curious what made you get into just the Cadillac family. I mean, it's
it surprised a lot of people. But honestly, it's just nice. It's like this car, you sit in the Optic, and it's like, well, this is what we've thought Cadillac should be doing for the last my entire life. Right? How many reviews have we written, have you read, that have been like, it's pretty good, but the interior is crap? And this is the opposite. It is so, like, the materials quality, the perceived quality of build quality, right? We'll see how that shakes out over time. But and just like the functionality of it, the jump from the last generation, so CT4, XT6, which was kind of like discount BMW, to what this is, which is not only much higher in quality, but its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's its own design language, for lack of a better term. But it started with the Lyric, and it really makes a big difference. And from an EV spec perspective, we don't really need a lot of miles. It doesn't really matter that much. I've publicly charged our electric car never. Now, like almost 3 years of owning them, we have never used a public charger on our car. But it has over 300 miles. It's, it has a good amount of power. It's all-wheel drive, but it is more like, it is the reactive all-wheel drive system. The rear motors on it is more like, so the Optic is more like the Equinox EV, in that it's primarily front-wheel drive, and there is some torque steer actually in it, whereas Lyric is rear drive biased with front. It's basically flipped. So there's that. But in terms of charging's 150 kilowatt, I think, which is a lot slower than the other GM vehicles. But it has like a lot smaller. It only has an 85 kilowatt hour battery, which not 100, or the Escalade IQ, which is 200. It is more than double the amount of battery that the Optic has, which goes 300 miles, right?
Yeah. No, I'm. It sounds so far like you're really enjoying the Optic, and I mean, like, yeah, it makes sense. I've been able to drive the Escalade, the Optic, and the Vistic all this summer, and yeah, like what you said, the interiors are great. It feels weird to make this comparison, but it's almost like Genesis, really. Where it's this really great first impression of getting into the car, and it has this distinct feel where it's its own thing. It feels almost like comfortable in being an American car and an American take on luxury.
It's interesting.
It's what we've wanted, right?
Yeah.
From Cadillac, and like it's almost like why Cadillac has maintained. I think, and some people have written Cadillac off long, but like a lot of us were like, no, we know what you can be. Like we've seen it, right? Like the 60s. We remember that.
Yeah.
Right? This is what you could be. Just do that again. And they're kind of doing it now with their electric ones. Like you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like by trying to just sort of be the best, as you kind of put it there, James, it's like it's been a better, more sustainable path than when they were like trying to like sort of beat BMW in a knife fight over Nürburgring times. And they made some amazing like hot rod sedans, but we would all get in those things and we're like, well, the interior is kind of, junky over here, or this plastic is too sharp. But I mean, literally every Cadillac electric that I've driven lately has been very, very good on the inside, which isn't something that you've been able to say, universally for sure for GM products. So, very pleasing,
Mhm.
It's oddly its strongest attribute,
Yeah. Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
which was not the case. It was
Yeah.
the opposite
Yeah.
in the past.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's been doing really good. Flipping back to your personal lineup,
Mhm.
you talked briefly about an X5.
Yeah.
And so the question we ask every guest, and so we're just going to ask you, is there anything that you've owned that you regret getting rid of?
Oh. Yeah. Well, forever. Let's see here. For the viewers at home, this would be my 2000 Jetta with me getting it on my 16th birthday, driving it to school for the first time in all my 90s garb. Have to tuck my shirt in at high school.
Those cargo pants. Those just do not quit. Those are the khakis that we all felt the need to
And they
wear around
even
that
had a
time.
very brief time when drawstring was
Yeah.
acceptable.
Yeah.
I
From
hate it.
American Eagle, maybe, or
Awful.
something like that.
But it's a 2000 Jetta VR6, a GLS with the leather package. It was a lovely car. It's really nice. I'm a lucky boy, and I took very good care of that car. And I because that was my car, right? And I sold it. It wasn't very. I regret. I got an Acura TSX, which was cool, but I didn't like it as much. That was the car. That was the switch that I realized. Oh, I like torque, and so I didn't have the TSX very long because I got the Edmunds job thereafter, and I was just going to be driving the car buffet, and it was just going to be collecting dust and depreciation. So I got my Z3 instead. But like, it's the weird thing because that in my brain was like my car, right? Like, I never really owned the TSX long enough. I don't drive the Z3 enough. And it's the weird thing when I dream, right? My car is my Jetta. I still own it. In my brain, that's just like, oh, I'm going somewhere. I need a car. Of course, I still own. And then my brain does these weird gymnastics where it's like, oh, I never sold it. I still have it. So, it makes me sad, when I see the photo of the day I sold it. If I wouldn't have, there's a decent chance I'd still own the thing to this day.
Why did you sell it? What was the tipping point? College or something, or what? Why did you sell it?
There was no reason. I think. Well, I worked at an Acura dealer, and so I was just like, oh, I can when I get this instead. And my parents were prodding me, so I don't know. It was dumb. It's a shame.
Now, we don't ask this about every guest, but I think it's unique because we are having this discussion on the Auto Guide podcast as opposed to perhaps another one. What do you think about the state of just like automotive journalism? It's just things have changed so much in the last, say, 3-4 years, but I mean, especially in the last year with AI and everything. I'm just curious what it's like from your viewpoint, James.
Well, things are going good for me, but I sure don't think but that's not the case for a lot of people, and it sure looks a bit grim. There are fewer sites out there, and then of those, there's fewer doing quality content. Maybe it could be argued that there was a glut, right? Like how many first drives of a Subaru Forester does one really realistically read, right? But there's a lot of really quality sites disappearing or changing, and effectively those people are kind of disappearing, unfortunately, and it's it is sad that that's unfortunate. And with AI, I think it's very easy. Like, I'm sorry, like you're going to have to be AI cannot drive a car and then tell you what it's like. Like, it just can't. But like Google, with their little, if you Google like Cadillac optic cargo space, right? It's just gonna suck in my cargo test on Edmunds.
Mhm.
It's like before, like, I write it for SEO so people can find it easily. It goes up when you Google that. That's one of the reasons I did it. I created those tests at Autoblog was for SEO purposes. But Google sucks in that information. And so if you go to Google's page, the entire screen is their own AI creation vacuuming up my and other information and presenting it as its own thing. Ergo, you find that basic question on Google and never look anywhere else.
Yeah. We put so much weight in Google results, and now it's being used against us.
Kind of, yes. But
the
then
algorithm strikes back.
Right. So you have to rely on people. So it's like, what's the cargo space in an optic? Okay, I've seen that, but you don't actually. That kind of defeats the purpose of why I do the tests in the first place, which is often the cargo volumes are BS or not like comparable, or something's off, or it doesn't tell the whole story. So, that's one thing I discovered while doing them. That's not why I did them, right?
Yeah.
But that's just one example, and it's
But it highlights. I mean, you brought it up earlier when your wife test drove the optic. It's like you don't realize how a seating position can really impact you until you're in the car. And like cargo space, sure, it's a number in cubic feet, but what does that mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. And the main thing, if we want to dive in just briefly into it, the main takeaway is that you cannot compare the cargo numbers of sedans or things with a notchback secured trunk and hatchbacked vehicles. Not comparable. They are not comparable. Do not do it. A Civic sedan and a Civic hatchback. The hatchback has 10 more cubic feet of cargo volume. The sedan can hold more luggage. What? Well, it's because the bit of the hatchback that gives you more volume is like an acute wedge, right? You can't put anything up there, right? Because A, you're not carrying around a giant block of cheese on top of all of your luggage. 2, if you put anything up there, it would fly forward into the cabin. So also, like, are you going to find like a tiny triangular bag to fill up the rearmost portion of it? No. So it's stuff like that makes the two like not comparable for cargo volume.
Well, now I want a giant wedge of cheese.
How do you test cars? You don't, roll around with a wedge of Munster? I mean, come on.
We've got the AutoGuide logo just stamped right into it. It's real easy.
Giant block of cheese test.
Yeah. There we go. Google can't take that from us. Well, James, I'm sure we could talk about cheese and cars a lot longer. Maybe bring in the wine. You could return to that role. But we're probably going to let you go. But James, thanks as always for joining us.
My pleasure.
Always
good to talk to you, as always.
It's a blast to talk to you. And we'll have you on again sometime down the road. And then we can hear how the optic's been to live with.
I wish I could tell you, because honestly, for almost a month now, it's been out of commission.
Oh.
Because on the way to the DMV to get its California black plates, a softball-sized rock or hunk of concrete hit the windshield. It was terrifying.
Everyone's okay?
Yes, I was driving it alone. It was so much force, there's tiny shards of glass in the car.
Good times.
It was terrifying. So we were kind of told by the auto glass people, don't drive that on the highway. So we got lucky it didn't hit the A-pillar, because that would have been like that would have been a heavier design. But it's such a new car, and the windshield is like 12 feet long because it is this insane rake that it's hard to get. So Yeah, it's just been in the. It's like Fred Flintstone, like Fred Flintstone kicks the cat outside. It's done that to the E-Class. The E-Class has been on the driveway for the last. And my wife's been driving. Actually, the funny thing is, it's a good thing I got the E-Class because my wife can drive it, so she didn't have to get like a rental car for all this time. So she's been enjoying it as much as she can. Yeah.
Well, that's good at least. Making the best of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks again, James. It's been a pleasure. And everyone who's listening, this is the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors, and we'll be right back after a short commercial break.
All right, joining us now to talk all things Formula One is Colum. What's going on?
Hey, Greg. I'm great, man. I'm great. There's a busy week as always, and actually there'll be racing this week, which we've been on a summer break for a long time. So very excited to get that back in. But I guess the big news of the week, it almost is old news by now, is Cadillac now has first they have a team, now they have drivers, Bottas and Perez, which is a pretty darn strong duo. I think they went with just a smart choice. They don't want to take risks with rookies spinning cars and doing all that stuff. So, but now we have I think the most exciting thing is that these guys have often been talked about as the two best number two drivers in Formula One. So now we'll find out who's the real number two of the two of them. So
it's interesting because Cadillac, I think, wanted to go with experience here. You look at all the starts, these guys have like 16 wins between them. So sometimes with teams, there's almost like that expansion vibe. I 100% think Cadillac did not want that. They're Cadillac. They don't want an expansion vibe. And, hey, they have I saw a couple headlines call these guys grizzled, which, I mean, they're younger than us, but not much. I mean, these are some experienced gentlemen. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited for F1 next year. See what
I think it's great, and if they can come anywhere close, I actually saw, I think it was Crofty from the F1 broadcast on a podcast the other day talking about how, according to him, and he wouldn't name names, that there are more big names set to join the team. So I've talked on this podcast before about the rumor of having Christian Horner come. I don't think that will happen at all, but I'd be curious if they hire some big name technical personalities to sort of help them get going. It'll still be a rough first year. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, with the rules changing, anything's possible. So,
all right. Well, let's. Speaking of big names, how about a guy from IndyCar? Coming over. Maybe I saw Chip Ganassi was pretty quick about shooting that down. It's kind of hovering out there.
So the rumor, of course, is that Alex Palou is going to be could be the replacement in the second seat at Red Bull. So alongside Max Verstappen, and so that came along. But yes, as you mentioned, Chip Ganassi on a Zoom call basically said, "quote What do we have it? Alex had the opportunity to leave and didn't." So and more importantly, I think it seems as though this rumor was started by Alex Palou's agent. So a tremendously unreliable source there. So I don't think it's going to happen, but is there a spot for him? It's super rare that anybody moves from IndyCar to F1. It's kind of a shame because, but it almost feels like once you go to IndyCar, you're tainted goods, right? They don't want you. And I know that Formula One, I'm sure there's some great snobbishness around. They want you moving up through their system of F4, 3, 2, et cetera. So.
He certainly is talented enough. He's still young enough. I mean, it would be interesting to see him in Formula One in the next few years, but he's just crushing it so much in IndyCar right now. Like, why would he leave, right? The money is still pretty good, but
that's true.
But F1 I bet has more.
F1 has lots more money. It could be pretty wild. So yeah, I'd love to see it. I wish more guys would make the move that way, but it seems like I'm trying to think. I know Jacques Villeneuve did it, right? But other than him, I can't think of many. Go back to like the Mario Andretti's and stuff. That's how far back you have to go to think about guys who make that jump versus the other way around, right? Like Juan Pablo Montoya was F1 and left it for the joys of NASCAR and IndyCar and stuff like that. And I don't think he regretted it. So
no, that's a good point. Well, speaking of money or perhaps lack thereof, let's talk about Caterham.
Yeah, well, it's funny because earlier you mentioned about sort of back runner teams, about how Cadillac doesn't want to be that, right? So and Caterham certainly was. So there's this new rumor which has some legs, I guess, that the team could come back. There's the company's called SKM Capital, and it's run by a 24-year-old Indian investor named Saad Kassis Mohammed. And I guess he wants to like bring back the team, blah, blah, blah. There's some quotes from him in an article in, I'm trying to think, it's a Sports Car is the name of Sports Star is the name of the magazine. And basically saying like, very clear, basically saying he's like F1 now operates with clear financial guardrails and stable financial technical frameworks, making the category investable. He's basically saying like, this isn't what it used to be. And he actually says, here's a quote, our plan involves two options, a change of control transaction in an existing entrant, I bet that's Alpine, or applying in the next FIA process as a compact, well-funded customer team with long-term PU supply. So he sounded more educated, and usually these things just come on as crazy rumors, right? Like you just hear, Auto Week, or not Auto Week. I'm trying to think of some of the Brit publications that always have more rumors than fact. Those instances are there's no basis to it. But here's an actual interview with the guy saying, this is our plan. And I'm like, oh, that's, we didn't make this up. We're not putting words in his mouth. He's saying them himself. So,
I mean, if he wouldn't be the first sort of, angel investor to come in with big ideas on Formula One, but I mean, I don't know. I also kind of question if Caterham has all that much brand value. Like, is that the name you want to bring back? I mean, it's great in cars, but on F1, we're talking like 3 years of history. I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't even have a lot of car history. Like most, car guys know Caterham, but most people don't. Like even like casual car guys, probably never heard of them. So I think there's no brand value there either. So why not just come with a totally unique name or something? Bring back Force India. Who knows? I just don't see it. Funny enough, did a little research when I was looking into Caterham, and so yes, they had their 3 years. They actually didn't race some of that year because they had no money to race. Yep. They're actually the first team to have crowdfunded their entrant into a race. They basically got people on the internet to just put down a couple buttons, like a GoFundMe or something, so they could actually make it to a race. And it didn't work out. And if you want a real sad indication, you can find the whole Caterham F1 team Twitter handle, which hasn't been used in a million years. And all of the last tweets are them at their auction selling off all the items of the company. And it's like down to like, here's 10 hats. Like, it's not just like, we're selling chassis and other stuff. They're selling some like things you're going to get $20 for. So pretty sad ending for that team. And I wouldn't want to, I'd go with a whole new thing. I'm with you.
Well, who has a ton of experience in Formula One and like every other series, way more than Caterham, is Rubens Barrichello. Who,
hey, there you go.
I can't believe we're still talking about this guy.
Here's
a guy who is considerably older than both of us, but he won a NASCAR title in the Brazil series, which I honestly didn't know was a thing.
I did not either. I saw this, so I saw exactly what you're looking at the screen here, which was on Instagram, I think, and it says champion, and it doesn't even say. It's hard to even see the words Barrichello on there, but I saw his face, and I was like, "What do you mean, Rubens Barrichello's in that?" Like that makes. I'm like, this season's going. What are you talking about? And then I had to look into this and be like, it's in Brazil. They have a Brazil series, independent. Apparently, it's his rookie season, and he just went in and cleaned up, and so good for Rubens. And apparently what's cool is that at NASCAR, when they do their end of year awards ceremony, they invite all the winners from all their global series. So like I think there's an independent one in Mexico, etc. So he'll be there at the big, with all the regular NASCAR guys getting awards. So that's very cool. Like, good for Rubens.
Yeah, he was a very strong, as we talked about earlier, number 2 driver for many years. He was solid for Ferrari, and he hung around. And I mean, frankly, for NASCAR, I would assume NASCAR Brazil, 53 is not that old. Like, there were some of those guys who hung on into their mid 50s. So I guess we'll see. Totally.
I always look at like endurance car racing always is fascinating to me, because there's always like really old guys there that are quite competitive, right? Like, it's a fascinating thing. I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but there's statistics around like that things that involve endurance, which endurance racing is a little bit different than like regular physical endurance. Like, it is, but there's also you're racing a car. But endurance racing is like endurance in general. There's like a peak physical performance is like for like men, it's like 26 or something like that. But peak like physical endurance for men is like 32 or something. So you actually, it goes on further. So there's like great endurance capability in your later years. So maybe you can't perform at that ultimate peak of F1, but if you need to like put in, 4-hour stints behind the wheel at Le Mans, you can do that. So good for Rubens though. Very, very good. Maybe he'll like, I don't know, maybe he'll come to NASCAR in the States. Wouldn't that be wild?
I mean, that would be cool, actually. It really would. He'd be a name that if you like racing, you would know who he is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there we go. Well, speaking of another name, Kimi Räikkönen back in the news. Not someone known for the level of class and endurance of Rubens Barrichello. Yeah.
This is gold. So I saw this on Instagram. Absolutely priceless. If you missed this, man, this is true Kimi Räikkönen all the way. So you could see there was this post that Formula One put out from the recent. Was it Goodwood, I guess. And so they had all these things there. And if I got to squint here to read this, it's 14 F1 world champions at one table last month. We've got something special on the way. So, this is Formula One talking about it. And you can see in the picture, there's, what is it? We got Mika Hakkinen, there's Mario Andretti, there's all sort of the legends. And then the reply on Instagram below, Kimi Räikkönen replies, "Thanks for the invite."
Oh man,
that was like what's the old Saturday Night Live skit? But I'm not bitter. So
it's just like, I mean, and the funny thing is he responded on Instagram too. This isn't like through his agent or like some high level. He's just like reduced himself to an internet troll.
Yeah.
Come on, Iceman. Like what?
I love it. And clearly, like, there's no love for him. He's still Ferrari's last world champion, right? But he just, in one respect, just never gets the. I think he often gets talked about more, not as a joke, but like we love his antics and stuff like that. When he was even trying not to have antics, but I think he probably deserves more credit than he even gets. So.
Talented guy. He's still only 45. So, I mean, frankly, I'm surprised he hasn't turned up a little bit more recently, somewhere more high profile.
Well, he's very focused on his kids' karting careers.
Okay.
If you follow on Instagram, his kids, he's got like a track up there in Finland, or maybe I think they have a place in Switzerland as well. He is like full tilt. And actually, it was one of the recent, I think, Monaco races. He was there with his kids, and everyone's like, oh, he's shopping around, trying to find a team to get one of his kids on eventually. So there may be other. I guess there's another Kimi in F1 right now, but there'll probably be another Räikkönen in the near future. So up to his old tricks.
Well said. Well said. Well, thanks for hanging out this week. We'll see you next time, Colin.
Sounds great. Take care.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. This has been a lot in this episode. We've covered a lot of ground. And so, Greg, just to take a look ahead for the next week, what's your next few days look like in terms of the schedule? Any interesting cars that you're going to be driving?
So I am currently in a Mercedes-Benz S580, which drives like butter. It is beautiful inside. The family is loving the massages, the ambient lighting, the sound system. We're having a ball in this thing. It's very comfortable. And then when it leaves, I will replace it with Mercedes EQS. So this is the 450 version. So what I think I'm going to do when I write about this, or maybe we talk about these on the podcast, is kind of push it all together and make like one big Mercedes luxury car review, like 2 weeks and something really nice, but with very different powertrains.
Mm-hmm. I think that's such a great chance to do back to back, because as we know, the EQ cars are quite different, or were quite different from the gas ones, and so you're going to be back to back. All right, well, dang, I'm a little jealous, and also very much looking forward to that.
That's a tough one to beat, right? Like sometimes we're on these shows, and it's like, well, I'm going to be in an Accord. Great car, don't get me wrong, but it's like, well, I'm going to be in this, BMW M something special edition variant. And yeah, back-to-back Mercedes is a bit of a, pocket aces, if you will.
I might have a higher hand.
Let's hear.
So this week, because I wasn't on last week's episode because I was on vacation, this week I am in the BMW M5 Touring, and the Porsche Taycan GTS Sport Turismo.
Oh man. Okay. All right. I don't know. I mean, this is like a push, maybe. This is tough.
Yeah. So this was booked months ago, and we wanted to do a wagon comparison. And since Porsche doesn't make a Panamera wagon anymore, we thought we'd go electric, kind of switch things up. And so I've been living with both of those for the week, and it has been interesting. I will obviously go in depth in the comparison whenever that comes out, but I will say that it's really strange when you're doing a comparison where no one gives a second glance to the Porsche. But that's the case, right? The M5 Touring has got a whole lot of attention in the last year, both good and bad. But out on the road, everyone notices it.
There you go.
So yeah, that's been my week. And then next week I will actually be going into something a little more pedestrian. That feels insulting. I'm going to be driving the 2026 Genesis GV70 electrified.
That is a great car.
It's great. It's been updated for this year with the styling updates that actually James, I think, drove the gas version for us a few months back. So I'm going to be driving this one. It has the Max port, so that's an important update. And yeah, the GV70 is such a great little luxury SUV, so I'm excited to be in it again for the first time in a few years.
Sounds good. I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Excellent. Well, that's it for us this week. So from Greg and I, everyone have a great week. This has been the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors, and we'll see you again soon.
eBay has reinvented car buying. From click to curb, everything is covered. Ever try to buy your car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger on blind trust? That era is over. Now with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery, it's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Carmel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary.